Lovell and Martin Dixon. It's fantastic you've been able to make this time to talk with VCOSS and for us to be able to share with VCOSS members a liberal coalition approach to policy. So we've got a whole range of questions. As you'd be aware, VCOSS developed a platform for smart government called Cause Not Consequence, and that was part of our efforts around developing and advising and suggesting policy leading into this year's state election. So a lot of our questions are, are one way or another framed around cause not consequence, to try and avert problems before they occur and to look at how we can reduce the extent of problems in our community over time. And so probably one of the first big theme questions, Mary, VCOSS strongly advocates targeted policies to reduce disadvantage, and we've been strong supporters of the current government's Fairer Victoria framework. We want to see opportunities for all Victorians to access services and opportunities. Now, you were quoted in the Sunday Age recently as saying that the coalition government, if elected, would retain and build on Fairer Victoria. What is your thinking here? What does that mean?
What that means, Cath, is, and the coalition's had a very, I think, positive and proactive approach in relation to people who are disadvantaged, they have a disability, mental illness, younger people who need access to services, and we will be looking to build on what is already in place, because there's some good things there and there's some things that definitely need improvement, further investment and change so that they can have the impact that needs to be had. So in doing a like-to-like comparison, which I've had a look at, we're intending to keep the funding that's currently there for the Fairer Victoria programs, but we will be investing further on that. Now, the government's announced a $493 million package. I've done a like-to-like comparison, and once all our policies are announced, we'll have an additional $660 million package that invests in the whole range of services, from people with a disability to carers to early childhood, problem gambling, housing, all the different areas that are addressed through the Fairer Victoria package. We see that there's some real opportunities to invest further to change the outcomes and have positive outcomes for people and families who need that assistance. Okay,
so we'll be looking forward to a number of those policies, and perhaps that when we get to the end of the discussion, if there are things that we haven't talked about, then let's talk about it.
Great.
So moving on to children and families. There's been a strong media focus recently on child protection from a crisis response perspective. Now, we all know that early intervention and the right support at the right time for children and families is the most effective means of delivering the best possible outcomes. How would the coalition incorporate early intervention strategies into your children and family policies?
Well, we've already made some significant commitments in relation to that, because we believe trying to stop the abuse before it starts is absolutely critical to success in this process. We already can identify particularly those parents who are at risk through pre-birth notifications, or young women who are in child protection themselves and who are pregnant. We will be working in a very direct, one-on-one way with those women and parents when we know, during their pregnancy, so we know they're potentially at risk, work with them through their pregnancy, through till that child is 4 years old, to support them through that process, give them the helping hand that they may not have from a family member or their own parents, or wherever their support may come from normally but is not there in place. We think that will go a long way towards helping to reduce the abuse before it happens, because we know those at-risk mums are actually often then become actual notifications to child protection. I think it's nearly 3/4 of them go on to going into child protection again themselves. We think that'll make a significant difference in terms of helping to reduce abuse before it starts, and making sure those very vulnerable babies and children are protected. We've got a whole series of other child protection announcements that we've made, which go to the heart of trying to identify those most at risk and support them along the way. And I'd just like to mention also, the group in out-of-home care are a very, very vulnerable group, and they're also a group that are getting, in some cases pregnant, or ending up homeless, ending up in the youth justice system. We've committed to, once again, a case management approach, putting an individual alongside them to plan for the future, plan for their transition out of out-of-home care, help them with that transition. There'll be money alongside to whether it's furniture or whether it's actually helping get employability skills or access further education or get a job, and support them right up to 25. And I know that's one of your things in Cause Not Consequence. We need to put support around them that they don't have through their own families. And we think that'll go a long way to reducing some of those significant issues for young people that they're currently facing who are leaving out-of-home care. The other thing on child protection that we've of course committed to is that we will have a judicial review. We believe that it's really important to get to the heart of the problems. The Ombudsman said that the government's approach had been ad hoc and reactive, particularly to media front pages. We want to get away from that. We want to have a look at the whole system because it is integrated. The kids and the families who are coming into Child First are going through into child protection. The children are in out-of-home care. You know, everything ties in, and you can't look at each section individually without understanding the implications for the rest of the system as well. So our judicial review will have a look at that comprehensive perspective and make genuine recommendations about how we improve it for the future. It's about finding the ideas of what we need to do to improve the child protection system as a whole, and how we can make sure for what we're investing in it, that children are genuinely protected.
Thank you. Now we've got a little follow-up question here from Karen Scobell on behalf of the Centre for Excellence in Child and Family Welfare. She asks, the Coalition is proposing to establish an independent Children's Commissioner. How do you envisage such a position working, and what will improve for our children and young people with such a position?
Well, it's this is an announcement we made some time ago.
Yes.
We've been very proactive, I believe, in relation to there needs to be some independence to the role. Now, Bernie Geary does a fantastic job as Child Safety Commissioner. We completely support what his role is, but the reality is he's appointed by the Minister and he reports to the Minister. And even though there has been some widening of his responsibilities, he still can only investigate what the Minister asks him to investigate. So instead of having a transparent and independent system, we've got a system that's constrained by the pressures that the Minister is under at any one time. So having an independent Children's Commissioner will mean that that person can initiate reviews, can report to the Parliament, not to the Minister, and actually be a real advocate for children with an independence that the current Child Safety Commissioner doesn't have. So we believe that will make a difference for children, because their issues will be addressed based on what's needed, not perhaps on a political agenda. It will also mean that the community can have confidence because there's a transparency and an accountability of the government through independent means to the Parliament rather than back to the Minister as well. So this is something that's been called for very widely. It is actually something that's happened in every state and territory practically around the rest of the country, and Victoria stands out by not having made this move to really have the independence of the role for the protection of the children.
Yeah. Thank you. And I suppose, Wendy, I was just interested whether there's anything else that you'd like to comment on in terms of what a value government would do in the early years area.
Sure. Thanks, Cath, for the opportunity. In the Children and Early Childhood Development policy, we'll certainly be investing in infrastructure for kindergartens and for early childhood care facilities. We've also will be committing $10 million towards the KISS program, which is Kindergarten Inclusion Support Services, to support disabled children to participate in a kindergarten experience. But we've also committed that we will review the criteria for qualifying for KISS, because at the moment it's so narrow that you virtually have to be a danger to yourself or others to qualify for that program. So we'll look at broadening that criteria so that more